I would like to introduce you to Jennie Kitching from Hypnowoman. She has written 42 books. She's a professional trainer and assessor in the business world. She's opened her own training school. She teaches hypnosis to qualified therapists, and she's been accredited with her course in an advanced diploma. She's appeared in numerous radio talk shows. She's rubbed shoulders with the likes of Jackie Collins, and she has a string of letters after her name. Jennie, welcome to the show.
I'm absolutely delighted to be here, Liz. Thank you for asking me.
You're surely welcome. Now, Jackie, you have, when I met Jackie for the first time, I thought, my gosh, she has written 42 books, and that is just absolutely amazing. So first of all, I've got to applaud you for that. I'm going to do that. And Jennie, you've written books all across the board. I mean, the momentum that you get from that, this is something for other people to learn. So tell me a little bit more about the reasoning behind the writing of your books.
Thank you. Good question. Many people think the subject matters are a little diverse. So let me bring it into one cohesive whole for you. I, as you say, have been an assessor and trainer in the business world for all of my working life. And as a trainer, particularly in the legal profession where various people would be gathered together who perhaps didn't want to learn what I was presenting, I started to learn for myself and my well-being advanced communication practices to put forward some very complex and dry information in a more entertaining fashion. That took me into the world of neuro-linguistic programming. Okay. And enhancing my own communication skills to make me more marketable and to make the information more easily absorbed and to make it a bit more entertaining when you're going to learn about data protection and various legal practices. And that led me into fascination with the processing at an unconscious level of the mind. So NLP is hypnosis with your eyes open, and that took me into this world. All my books are about unconscious communication, how we get along with each other, basically.
Okay, great. You know, it's kind of really important to understand why as well. You know, you write these books because obviously there's an intention behind writing your books. There is your why. So you've got the name as Hypnowoman. So tell me, who is your ideal client?
Oh, my ideal client. Well, strangely, macabrely, I prefer the tricky ones because I've trained hundreds of hypnotherapists now, and I've had various company names, but because the media particularly refer to me as the Hypnowoman, I actually got my company name now as the Hypnowoman. But why fight it, you know?
Yeah.
So my ideal client, as in a couple of weeks ago, actually, I had a client from the other side of the world, let's say, and client confidentiality, who's in a wheelchair and had various tests, etc., and been in a wheelchair for about 6 months. And because it was a bit of a phenomena, they're not sure why the legs stopped working and the sensations, etc. It was wonderful for me to reinvigorate the nerve endings, to do a process where there was more connection between mind and body, and that actually it started to raise out of the wheelchair. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that for me, that when the medical profession has given up on a person and almost they want an answer to validate the condition. And I'm just so grateful when the medical profession doesn't have an answer for a certain condition, because then I can get in there and I can talk to the unconscious mind of chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia and all these kind of strange ones now that we're still fighting for reason about. The unconscious mind knows so much more than we do, and I can get in there. So rather than stopping smoking or losing weight, we never say lose, by the way, it's very negative. Rather than the stereotypical, I like the ones that are referred to me by people that I've trained that they can't handle. It makes it far more interesting for me, and the joy of being able to help them is just phenomenal.
Yeah, and your work is a big part of transforming people's lives on varying levels, just as you mentioned, because people tend to think of hypnosis with, person just like, hypnotizing someone, this kind of that old cliche, and and the work is so much more deeper. It's so much more granular with what you do and how you transform someone's lives. So I think it's great, and great that you have this gift, and that you're out there sharing it with the world. So tell me, what is kind of one problem you solve, or what is the problem you solve? Because yours is probably going to be varying, but starting probably with that core thing.
Certainly, the core thing is somebody comes to see a hypnotherapist when they can't do what they say they want to do. They're trying and they can't do it. They procrastinate or make excuses or even become ill not to do it. So they come to me because they can't do what they say they emphatically want to do. And they come to me when they want to stop something that they can't stop doing. When they emphatically want to stop, I don't know why I did this. I promised myself it would never happen again. And so you're quite right in making that suggestion that people tend to think of hypnosis in a certain way, and about mind control. And I'd say, well, just tell me how well it's going without your own control over your mind. Yes, it is mind control, but what attracts me about hypnosis is a good hypnotherapist is putting you back in control of your mind. I almost de-hypnotize somebody. They've already been hypnotized to eat the cream cakes, and it's up to me to step in there and say, do you really want this? Do you really want to wear it on your hips for the rest of your life? We've been programmed to believe that these things will make us happy, bring us relaxation, and I just de-hypnotize them.
I like that, dehypnotize, because I think that a lot of some of these things are things that we've actually told ourselves, and kind of when you go deeper and deeper, it's actually what you've told yourself. And when it's got to the point where you go down a bit more and it gets down to, I'm not good enough. And so, and a lot of people also don't realize that when they go granular, that's what it is. And so, in terms of, you having your sort of your subconscious, your inner conflicts with you, that can also be a battle. And so what are the typical symptoms that people experience with that problem?
Well, you're quite right. It is a conflict of consciousness. We have the conscious mind, particularly, that is holding on to 7 bits of information. That's all it can do in any red hot minute. You hold on to 7 bits of information.
Right.
Anything else beyond that throws us into confusion, shock, anger, tears. The negative ego stuff comes in. So this isn't just for people who have problems. This is for our day-to-day living. When we're balanced and happy and calm, we can handle most situations, and it's not particularly stress isn't particularly a bad thing. It's de-stress that's bad when we're not able to cope. So all of this is about stress, really, Liz.
Absolutely. And we do live in the fast age. So, we have a lot of things that we are probably multitasking at doing. We've got family, we've got other family and extended family that we're also looking after, and supporting friends. And particularly, I think as well, and even if you're a business owner as well, you kind of have that in addition. So you've added another step into the cycle, which is the stress part, and where things start to you know, you get overwhelmed and so on. And like you say, just being able to help them to manage that, and dehypnotize. I think that's great. I could use that.
Yeah.
So what are the common mistakes that people make when they're trying to solve that problem?
Trying to do it with pure willpower. I mean, the buzzword nowadays in business, of course, is authenticity. We don't want to do business with anybody who's not authentic.
Yeah.
We're in business because we can't do everything and have everything and make everything we need for our survival and comfort alone. We need to be associated with other people who can do stuff better than us.
Absolutely.
We can't do
Yes.
everything. And we're in a whole world now, not just a country, a world where we have this mutual exchange of goods and services, which we're happy to pay for because we're doing something useful for somebody else.
Yeah.
So we do something for somebody else, they give us some money, we give our money to that person who's doing the thing that we can't do.
Yeah.
It's a very balanced, wonderful, mutual exchange. The problems that occur is when somebody is not being authentic, or we sense they're trying to rip us off, or to pay over the odds for something that we don't think is worth it and that we need.
Yeah.
That's where all the conflicts come in. And I think nowadays people are far more astute. We know when we're not comfortable buying goods and services, and we've got far more choice now. And there's a lot more going on at an unconscious level, so that the problems arise when somebody's not being authentic and they're trying to sell you something, or we're trying to sell something that we don't believe in, or that's overpriced, or that isn't going to be of good service to the person that we're presenting it to.
Yeah, I mean, and that can be extended even further, because I think, you know, sometimes you're trying to figure something out, and you know, you really want to push forward, and so you spend this time trying to figure it out, but you get complexities over things like the tech. So you're worrying about the tech. You know, there is complex issues on the tech. You know, trying to solve that problem with the tech, and so in the end, that can also be another factor, just in terms of you trying to figure things out in business. It can be another factor, because at the end of the day, you know, you're kind of bringing yourself into this overwhelm, this stress, and being able just to step back, or being able to, you know, saying, okay, I'm going to take a break, I'm going to put this down, and having a routine where you're doing that, where you're not just kind of working in a way that's really not conducive, and also in terms of your performance, your productivity. And I think, you know, even me, I have to kind of like decide, look, actually, do you know what? Okay, I'm going to put that down now. Let's move on to something else. And breaking or dehypnotizing some of the ways how we work and how we think. Because you can't do it doesn't mean you're not good enough. Because you can't do it, it just means that somebody else can do that who's better than you at doing it. And so let's hand it over to them. So sometimes I think that when it comes to some of these things, it you know, can be on so many levels, and we need to kind of have a dehypnotized way of how we kind of have a routine, how we do things, and how we then think of the impacts of what that was, and where it brings us to. So what I'd like to ask you is, what is one valuable free action that the audience can implement that will help them to solve that problem? And particularly because I know sometimes it's very different now. We're in this virtual world, and we're having to do lots of things virtually, and thank goodness that your service you can do virtually, and the walls have come down in terms of you can now literally serve people all over the world. So yeah, so what's one valuable free action that the audience can implement that will help solve that?
The one valuable free action that is very pertinent at this moment in time is to be able to be comfortable with your physical self. There's a lot of talk about, and there always has been, about confidence, and I've done a lot of presentation anxiety solving in the past, where people have had to get up and present basically their job to a huge arena of people.
Yeah.
And no matter how confident somebody seems, managing director, senior partner, etc., they bring me in on the sly. I've worked for so many different companies. They used to bring me in secretly to teach them about computers and stuff. And now they do that for presentation anxiety. No boss, no leader wants to admit to their workforce or any kind individual within that workforce that they're having these issues. So usually I was brought in to do that kind of body language, speech, intonation, phrasing, etc., to help them present. Now it's about, as you say, doing it virtually. And so many people at all walks of life are not comfortable seeing themselves here.
Yeah.
And so the focus is no longer, Liz, on the other person, as it always is. When we're in real life and we're communicating with somebody else, our total focus is on them and communicating at that level. Now in these Zoom environments, etc., we're not just seeing the person we're communicating with in 2D, not 3D, 2D, and only a part of their body. We're not seeing their feet going like the clappers when they're nervous, or any sort of shaking going on. We're only seeing, we're not getting the information we need from the other person, and we're needing to adapt, improvise, adapt, and overcome. But we're also presented with our own physiology and what it's doing that we've perhaps never seen before. Never seen that expression on your face before. So look in the mirror is my tip. And it's always been that way with presentation. Let's do a presentation in front of the mirror. How am I going to come across? Well, do that and get comfortable with your own expression, with the tilt of the head, with, yes, what you wear, how your hair is. Do everything you possibly can to be as comfortable in your own skin as you can be before you present yourself to another with this technological wizardry.
Great.
And you can ignore yourself, you see. You can ignore yourself. Oh, I'm okay. Take the focus off me now and focus on the person I'm actually communicating with.
Okay, that's great. So look in the mirror. Right, excellent. So what's one valuable free resource that you can direct people to that will further help with that problem? And I know you've written, you've written some fabulous books here, and I'm sure that there's something in one of those books that can actually help them.
Thank you. Well, I'm interviewed quite a lot about these books, as you know, and if they just Google Hypnowoman, and particularly Jennie, Jennie, Hypnowoman, on YouTube, there's over 200 videos, all completely free, on various aspects of these books.
Wow,
Law
fantastic.
of attraction and hypnosis and all sorts of personality profiling. And there's a lot about sleep. If you can't sleep, you're having trouble sleeping, you can put one of these on just as a relaxation exercise to drift off to sleep listening to.
That's
and
great.
It's all going to be good. Confidence building, relaxation, all the good stuff.
That's great. You have been a busy woman, and and it sounds like you've got a lot of stuff there that can help people. And sleep is an important thing because, as a business owner as well, just in terms of thinking about the things that need to be done, all the pre-thinking that you do, and also ideas, and just being able to go off to bed without having all these thoughts that continue churn through your mind, and then you don't end up going to sleep until the wee hours of the morning. So I'm sure that would definitely be helpful. And I use some relaxation to sleeping with some water therapy in the background, which is just like lovely. I'm just like out like a light. So, and it helps you with just winding down and being able to come to more of a comfortable space. So it'd be great. So Jennie, what's one question that I should have asked you that would give some more valuable value, that would give great value to our audience?
Oh, you always ask such good questions, Liz. That's kind of thrown me off a little bit. I suppose the question is how can you be the best you can be? Just Google Hypnowoman and see what comes up, and let's see how many people we can help, hey?
That's great. So that's wonderful. So like Jenny said, Google Hypnowoman and, go and check her out. Like I said, Jenny, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been a pleasure and an honor. And that's a wrap. So I just want to thank you, our guests, once again. And we look forward to bringing you more shows around business and beyond, and how these things can impact your lives, but help you in various ways. Now that's a wrap. Thank you to our